Let's begin. But first, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Shattered Hearts Tales. The snow fell softly outside the Bennett residence, blanketing the suburban streets in pristine white. Twinkling Christmas lights danced across manicured lawns, their reflections shimmering on frost-covered windows. Inside, Clara Bennett moved gracefully around the living room, carefully placing ornaments on the towering tree. 7 months pregnant, she radiated a serene glow, though a flutter of anxiety lingered beneath her composed exterior. This Christmas was meant to be perfect, a celebration of love and the growing life within her. Ethan Bennett, her husband, arrived later than usual, the faint lines of exhaustion visible on his otherwise handsome face. His phone buzzed incessantly, emails demanding attention, leaving little room for the warm family scene Clara had envisioned. She smiled politely as he kissed her cheek, hiding the pang of disappointment at his distracted demeanor. She reminded herself that perfection sometimes required patience. Dinner was a quiet affair, the aroma of roasted turkey and cinnamon-laced desserts filling the room. Then, Ethan's phone vibrated again. A message appeared from Vanessa Monroe, glamorous, ambitious, and dangerously confident. Clara caught a glimpse of Ethan's furrowed brow and the way his fingers hesitated over the screen. He didn't notice her glance. Vanessa's words hinted at urgency, veiled threats, and an expectation of loyalty. Clara interpreted it as minor stress, unaware that her husband's heart and attention were quietly being claimed elsewhere. Later, as Clara chatted with her best friend Megan over a video call, Megan's concern pierced through her festive mood. Ethan's behavior. "Be careful, Clara," she warned gently. Clara laughed it off, clutching her growing belly. "It's Christmas, Megan. Everything's fine." Tucking herself into bed that night, Clara felt a strange unease creeping in, a whisper that something was off. Unseen, Ethan quietly slipped out into the snowy night, siding Christmas errands, unaware that this night would change everything. Clara woke to the soft glow of the morning sun filtering through the frosted windows. The house was unusually quiet. Ethan's side of the bed was cold, his absence immediately setting her nerves on edge. She glanced at the clock. He had left hours ago. A note lay on the nightstand, hastily scrawled in his familiar handwriting. "Had to attend a last-minute business opportunity. Don't worry, I'll be back soon. Love. Ethan." Clara tried to shake off the unease, attributing it to the stress of the holidays. But as the hours ticked by, her anxiety deepened. The phone rang, but it was always voicemail. Each unanswered call tightened the knot of worry in her chest. Snow continued to fall outside, heavy and relentless, turning the streets into a blur of white. Determined, Clara decided to check the home security cameras. Her heart thumped as she scanned the footage. Ethan's sleek black car had indeed left the driveway, but the destination startled her. A secluded cabin tucked deep within the woods, a place she had never visited, shrouded in pine and shadow. Panic began to creep in. Then she noticed her husband speaking closely with a striking woman. Vanessa Monroe. Her hair perfectly styled, eyes sharp and calculating, Vanessa laughed softly at something Ethan said, leaning in as if the entire world outside didn't exist. Clara's chest tightened with a mix of fear and disbelief. Megan's earlier warning echoed in her mind. Clara realized this wasn't just a fleeting suspicion. Something was amiss, and she could no longer ignore it. The festive glow of Christmas faded, replaced by icy dread. She resolved to gather more evidence before confronting Ethan. Every instinct screamed caution, yet curiosity gnawed at her. As the storm raged outside, Clara felt the first taste of betrayal piercing her carefully constructed holiday world. This Christmas would be far from perfect. Christmas morning dawned, but the Bennett house was eerily silent. Clara had woken with a heavy feeling in her chest, an inexplicable sense of foreboding. She stepped toward the living room, her fingers brushing the ornament she had lovingly placed the night before, only to freeze. Something was off, too off. The gifts she had wrapped were untouched, the fireplace cold, and a strange emptiness hung over the house. When she tried to call Ethan, her phone rang endlessly with no answer. Her mind raced. She glanced at the front door, ajar, though she was certain she had locked it. Panic gripped her. Had she been mistaken about Ethan's behavior? Or was something more sinister at play? Meanwhile, at a nearby cafe, Ethan and Vanessa's morning had taken a sharp turn. Both were expecting to enjoy a quiet Christmas brunch, but when they returned home, they found the house empty. Clara's car was gone, and there was no sign of her. Ethan's heart pounded in his chest. He had assumed she would remain oblivious, unaware of his secret rendezvous with Vanessa. Now the illusion of control shattered. Vanessa, ever composed, masked her rising frustration with a practiced smile. Yet beneath it, the thought of Clara's absence threatened everything she had schemed to achieve. She urged Ethan to act quickly, to cover tracks and locate Clara before the situation spun entirely out of control. Neighbors reported seeing a black SUV parked near the Bennett residence late the previous night. Ethan dismissed it, but Vanessa's sharp eyes caught discrepancies in security footage. Each frame, each shadow, hinted at secrets beyond their comprehension. Clara herself was nowhere to be found, leaving both husband and mistress reeling. The world they thought they controlled was slipping through their fingers, and the Christmas holiday, once meant for joy, was now the stage for an unfolding mystery. Clara awoke to the soft warmth of a fire crackling nearby, her blanket wrapped snugly around her growing belly. The room was unfamiliar yet comforting, filled with tasteful decor that suggested care and attention. A tray of tea and breakfast sat on a small table, steam curling lazily into the air. Confusion battled with relief. Who had brought her here, and why? A shadow moved near the doorway. Clara tensed, instinctively shielding herself. "Do not be afraid," a deep, calm voice said. Nathaniel Graves stepped into the light, a tall, imposing man with sharp features softened by a gentle gaze. Clara's eyes widened in recognition. He was a friend of her late father, someone she had always admired from a distance. "You're safe," he assured. "But they need to learn the consequences of their actions." Nathaniel explained that he had been secretly monitoring Ethan and Vanessa for months, aware of their manipulations and deceit. When Clara's disappearance became imminent, he had intervened to ensure her safety. Every detail, the cabin, the food, the hidden camera feeds, had been meticulously arranged to protect her and gather evidence. Clara's fear began to mix with curiosity. This mysterious protection felt almost surreal, like a chess game in which she had been unknowingly moved into a winning position. Nathaniel handed her a small folder containing snippets of messages, photographs, and subtle clues of Ethan's betrayal. Each page tightened her resolve. For the first time, Clara realized her disappearance might not be an accident. Someone had anticipated the danger and acted to safeguard her. Beneath the fear, a spark of empowerment ignited. Christmas had turned into a trap for those who sought to deceive her, but it also marked the beginning of her awakening. Back at the Bennett estate, the snowstorm had intensified, blanketing the streets in a suffocating silence. Ethan sat slumped in the living room, phone in hand, trying to contact Clara with a growing sense of dread. Every unanswered call felt like a hammer to his chest. Vanessa paced nearby, heels clicking sharply against the hardwood floor, her composed facade cracking with every passing minute. "This is bad," Ethan muttered, his voice taut with guilt. "She's gone. And we have no idea where." Vanessa tilted her head, a dangerous glint in her eyes. "Gone or hiding?" she asked, her tone dripping with ambition and veiled threat. "You've been careless, Ethan. This could ruin everything." Their partnership, once smooth and manipulative, now teetered on the edge of collapse. Ethan's guilt conflicted with his desire to protect Vanessa, while she sought to control the narrative, manipulating him to act in ways that served her. Every failed attempt to locate Clara magnified the stakes. Ethan called private investigators, hired locksmiths to check doors, and combed the security footage repeatedly. Yet each lead twisted into dead ends. Vanessa, growing impatient, began creating false clues, texts, emails, and staged sightings, to manipulate Ethan into thinking Clara had left willingly. But with every new fabrication, Ethan's paranoia grew, straining their alliance. Outside, the storm raged like the chaos inside their hearts. Christmas lights flickered through the falling snow, a stark contrast to the turmoil consuming them. Their carefully constructed lives of secrecy and desire were unraveling faster than they could contain. Unseen, Clara was safe and plotting her return, while Nathaniel prepared the next move in this intricate game. The panic gripping Ethan and Vanessa marked only the beginning. Their unraveling had just begun, and the holiday that promised joy had become a crucible of fear, deceit, and impending reckoning. Clara sat by the window of the secluded cabin, snowflakes drifting lazily against the glass. The storm outside mirrored the turmoil in her mind. Though hidden and safe, she could not ignore the gnawing curiosity. Why had Ethan abandoned her, and what had Vanessa planned? She needed answers, not just for revenge, but to reclaim control over her life and her unborn child's future. Nathaniel moved silently behind her, placing a stack of documents on the table. "Everything you need is here," he said. Text messages, emails, photographs, even recordings of private conversations. Evidence of Ethan's ongoing betrayal. Clara sifted through them carefully, each revelation cutting deeper than the last. She saw Ethan laughing with Vanessa, promises whispered, nights spent in deception. Her chest tightened, but anger and determination replaced despair. Meanwhile, back at the Bennett estate, Ethan and Vanessa's tension escalated. The storm had trapped them inside, forcing them to confront the consequences of their actions. Every ringing phone, every unfamiliar shadow outside the windows, sent waves of panic through Ethan. Vanessa, impatient and calculating, sought to manipulate the situation, planting false leads to convince him that Clara had left voluntarily. As the snow piled higher outside, Clara discovered a small but critical detail in a forgotten gift Ethan had given her months earlier. A folded note hidden beneath delicate wrapping paper. It contained subtle hints that he had underestimated her awareness, a breadcrumb trail she could use to expose him. The storm outside was relentless, but it no longer frightened Clara. Each clue she uncovered sharpened her strategy, revealing a path to justice. Meanwhile, Ethan and Vanessa remained trapped in the eye of the storm, unaware that the tides had already begun to turn, and that Clara's return would be both inevitable and devastating. Clara stood in the dim glow of the cabin, her hands resting gently on her growing belly. For the first time since her disappearance, she felt the surge of control returning. Nathaniel had helped her piece together every thread of Ethan's betrayal, every maneuver of Vanessa's manipulations. Now it was time to turn the tables. Using the cabin's security feeds and hidden cameras installed throughout the Bennett estate, Clara orchestrated a plan. Every angle, every shadow, every word Ethan and Vanessa had exchanged would be revealed in real time. The culmination would be at the family's Christmas gathering, a place where truth and deceit would collide under the twinkling lights they had once decorated together. Back at the estate, Ethan was frantically searching for answers, unaware that the evidence of his infidelity had already been secured. Vanessa's confidence faltered as she noticed gaps in the security feeds, realizing that someone was anticipating their every move. Panic rippled through them both. Ethan's guilt pressed against him like a vice, while Vanessa's carefully constructed persona began to crack. Then, the unexpected happened. Clara's face appeared on the projection screens in the living room. Calm, composed, yet brimming with quiet fury, she addressed both Ethan and Vanessa, recounting the lies, the secret meetings, and the manipulations she had uncovered. Messages, photographs, and recordings flashed across the screens, each one a testament to betrayal. Ethan's face went pale, guilt and fear contorting his features. Vanessa, who had believed herself untouchable, stiffened in disbelief and anger. The room was silent, save for the crackling of the fireplace, as Clara's voice resonated with authority. Christmas had shifted from a celebration to a reckoning, and she, the once vulnerable wife, now held the power to redefine the story entirely. Clara stepped out of the shadows, the heavy snow crunching beneath her boots as she approached the Bennett estate. Nathaniel followed closely, his presence a quiet reassurance. Inside, Ethan paced the living room, his hands trembling, while Vanessa's composure teetered on the edge of fury. Both were unaware that the storm outside mirrored the storm about to erupt within. As Clara entered, the room fell into stunned silence. She held her head high, her gaze unwavering, her belly a living testament to the life Ethan had ignored. "Merry Christmas," she said calmly, each word precise and deliberate. "I've been gone, but I've seen everything." Ethan froze, guilt and fear etched into his features. He opened his mouth, but no words came. Vanessa, furious, attempted to interject, her voice sharp and commanding. "This isn't how it's supposed to go," she hissed, stepping forward. Clara held up a hand. "No, Vanessa. This is exactly how it goes. You wanted control, manipulation, secrecy. Now, it ends. Tonight, everyone sees the truth." She motioned to Nathaniel, who activated the hidden footage. Screens flickered to life, displaying Ethan and Vanessa's secret meetings, their texts, and the meticulous lies they had woven around her. Ethan's knees buckled, his face pale. Vanessa's confident mask shattered. Anger gave way to panic as her schemes unraveled before everyone. Clara's voice rang clear and unwavering, recounting betrayal, deception, and broken trust. By the time the final revelation had been broadcast, Clara had reclaimed her power. Ethan's guilt was undeniable, and Vanessa's influence was destroyed. The reckoning was complete. Christmas, once a symbol of joy and family, had become a stage for justice. Clara, unbroken and resolute, stood tall, ready to reclaim her life and protect the family she had fought to preserve. The snow had melted, leaving soft pools of sunlight glinting off the Bennett estate's freshly cleared driveways. Clara sat in her favorite armchair, a warm blanket draped over her lap, cradling her belly as she sipped tea. The past weeks had been a whirlwind of fear, betrayal, and revelation, but now she could finally breathe. The cabin, the storm, the secrecy, all had led her to this moment of empowerment and clarity. Nathaniel continued to guide and protect her, offering wisdom and subtle support, but Clara was learning to trust her own instincts. She had grown stronger, sharper, and more aware of the importance of boundaries. The evidence of Ethan and Vanessa's deceit had been documented and safely stored, ensuring that no harm could come from their past treachery. Ethan, meanwhile, lived in quiet reflection. Removed from Clara's life, he felt the weight of his actions pressing down on him. Guilt and regret became constant companions, forcing him to confront his failures and acknowledge the consequences of his betrayal. Yet, no amount of remorse could undo the damage he had caused. Clara's resolve remained unshaken. Vanessa's downfall was complete. Public scrutiny, loss of influence, and the collapse of her carefully constructed schemes had left her isolated. Clara observed her former rival from a distance, understanding that justice had been served without her needing to stoop to vengeance. As Clara prepared for the arrival of her child, she surrounded herself with supportive friends, family, and mentors, creating a network of love and trust. Each day was a step toward healing, a step toward reclaiming joy, and a step toward building a future defined by her choices, strength, and resilience. The shadows of Christmas past no longer haunted her. Clara was finally free to rebuild her life on her own terms. The first light of dawn spilled over the Bennett estate, casting a golden glow across the snow-dusted landscape. Clara sat in the nursery, gently rocking her newborn in her arms. The baby's soft breaths and tiny fingers curling around hers filled the room with a sense of peace she had not felt in months. The storm of betrayal, deception, and fear that had darkened her life was finally behind her. Friends and family gathered around, their presence a tangible reminder that love and support could heal even the deepest wounds. Megan's eyes glistened with pride, Nathaniel offered a reassuring smile, and Clara felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Every decision she had made, every moment of patience, courage, and restraint, had led to this moment. She was no longer a victim of circumstances or of Ethan's betrayal. She was the author of her own story. Ethan watched from a distance, regret etched into every line of his face. He understood the consequences of his actions and the permanence of the choices Clara had made. Vanessa's ambitions lay in ruins, her manipulations exposed for all to see. The two forces that had threatened Clara's life and happiness were gone, leaving her free to embrace her future fully. Clara stepped outside, cradling her baby against the crisp morning air. The snow glistened under the rising sun, a symbol of renewal and hope. She breathed deeply, feeling the weight of the past lift from her shoulders. This Christmas, once a season of betrayal, had transformed into a celebration of strength, resilience, and new beginnings. Clara smiled, knowing that while the world could be cruel and unpredictable, she had the courage, wisdom, and love to face whatever came next. A new chapter had begun, one written by her, and for the life she now cherished above all. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Shattered Hearts Tales.